Audio check. Check, check, check. All right. That was Felipe Gordon. More Than Grateful. Shall Not Fade. 8 months ago, electronic. Pretty good beat. That whole piece is like 5 minutes is pretty outstanding. So I hope that the audio's working. It's hard to say, but because it looks like it's working. But I just kind of wanted to jump on and talk some Astro aspects. It's been on my mind for weeks. I mean, you can read this stuff out. When you get into, that's what I was showing there. You get into these are really cheap. This is a $10 book. And then it's got your daily, you see that? It's got your every single day, it's got things that are going on, right? So this time it's like I didn't really feel like I needed to do a big warning because it's like it's such a well-known time. I don't want to review all of the unfortunate events that have happened around 419 and 420, but I mean, there's Waco, there's a whole bunch. I don't want to do what I said I wasn't going to do, but it's a time where there's also kind of a human sacrifice feel to it. And then we have this solar event and the solar eclipse. And then there's also solar event with these CMEs. Now that's the spaceweather.com link, the CME. And there could be there is, they just don't know how strong the coronal mass ejection event will be for tomorrow, I believe. So it's time travel, it's time delayed with the sun. What you see happening on the sun is it doesn't come to fruition here, meaning it doesn't land at the massive speed that it's traveling. It's a day or two. So that's really kind of interesting. So I wanted to briefly touch on that. I wish I had software where I could actually do a box within a box in a box. I haven't downloaded that here, and I guess I could do StreamYard, but I haven't done that. But what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that this is a danger zone. I'm doing a stranger danger video, and it's kind of an obvious time for stranger danger events, or the known unknowns, the known knowns, the known and the unknowns of false flag operations. And I read a couple of things about some military exercises. That's probably happening right now, and we're not going to hear about it until it's time delayed, much like a solar flare, a plasma explosion on the sun. We're going to get the data if we get the truth of what's going on with these military events. But China said it was going to do something. I've been reading all kinds of stuff. It's really hard to tell. It's like Jerusalem Post. It's like, what is it? This is like the Mossad diaries. I don't know. Does anybody know? I mean, I don't know, but it's called gleaning. You kind of just go through it and pick up the bits and pieces that feel honest or truthful if you can contrast them with some other events. So we know for a fact, for example, we go to spaceweather.com. That's what I'm looking at right now. I have that link there. You can click on it. And it says Minor Geomagnetic Storm Watch. NOAA forecasters say that minor G1 class geomatic storms are possible on April 20th, when a CME is expected to deliver a glancing blow to Earth's magnetic field. The CME was hurled in our direction by the eruption of a solar magnetic filament on April 16th. They're going back 4 days. 4 days. 1 day until the solar eclipse. Tomorrow, April 20th, which is within hours. And so what's happening right now is it's a new moon. And if you've ever heard me on any of the videos, I don't do a lot of videos, but I always say a couple of things about the new moon is just as powerful and just as strong as the full moon. Now, the full moon, it's powerful, it's worshipped, it's celebrated. It obviously affects the tides. It obviously affects mental health because we follow the data. It's not just hocus pocus. This isn't just astrology falling down Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole of astrology. Ha ha. No, it's not just that, although there might be a little bit of that. And I'm cool with that. You should be cool with it too. But because there's the element of the surprise and the unknown, there's a lot of unknown unknowns. The great philosopher Rumsfeld, he used to talk about known knowns and unknown unknowns. And then there's, but I digress. But the full moon and the new moon, the darkness of it is very significant, and it's often overlooked. And you just don't see a lot of people that talk about and fixate on the new moon, the dark moon. It's really the dark moon. And that's where you can see that the Aztec link there, where they were talking about the eclipse, and they had a lot of superstitions about demons and little rascals and things that could come out from the sun only during these eclipses. And so Mesoamerican culture was very much so astronomers, stargazers, and maybe some astrology. I mean, we don't really know. We do know there's a lot of petroglyphs that I've looked through and studied, but a lot of people have been way off on that, or they have to revise stuff. Go, well, gee, what we said was what we thought. That prior interpretation was all wrong, right? So that's the dangers of petroglyphs. But there is some good books on there. Some people that have really studied it hard. But it's Mesoamerican interpretation. But the Aztecs, so they had these beliefs, and they would do animal sacrifices. They would also do human sacrifices, and it's pretty widespread belief through petroglyphs and drawings and paintings that there were these sacrifices. They had a very interesting fixation on the heart, right? The heart, which is kind of interesting because we have these mRNA adverse events that could be connected to these different myocarditis, different type of things. The actual bioweapon itself cripples the heart or enlarges it and attacks. I personally, it attacked multiple organs, and I never got the jab, but the mRNA, I believe, is transmissible. And so I had some heart issues for sure. I mean, thank God it didn't shut me down, but a lot of people are no longer with us, and in a way, they were sacrificed. And in a way, we're still sacrificing people today, right? You with me on that? I mean, it depends on how you look at this. So we might not be much different. than the Mesoamerican, the Aztecs. If you think about that, especially the specific attack and the fixation and obsession with the heart. I don't know. So the new moon, it says 12:13 a.m. That's Eastern. So that's right now, this very second. It's 9:13 p.m. So that would mean right now it's clicked into void of course into a new moon. This says the moon enters Taurus at 12:30 a.m. This is East Coast. So that would be 9:30. I'm sorry. Right. Yes, because we are 3 hours before. So then it's saying almost at 4:20 a.m. on April 20th, at 4:20 a.m., the sun goes into Taurus. Sun enters Taurus, solar eclipse, 29 degrees in Aries, but you can see there is this Taurus, the moon clicking into Taurus, the sun clicking into Taurus. The Mercury is in Taurus. So we have a what I would refer to for years as a running of the bulls. And that was I'm a Taurus. First week of May, I had several friends, all that first week or second week of May, all Taurus, and we're all artists. I mean, I've never met a Taurus that wasn't an artist. Period. And then it doesn't have to be the sun sign. You can see like Taurus clusters in someone's prenatal chart, and you can go, you need a camera because you need to take pictures or whatever it is, canvas, painting. I mean, that's what I really got into. That's what I really enjoy. But whatever the craft is. So anyway, I'm just looking at the little astro reader here. So the other thing that's happening, so that new moon, that is going to affect people's mental health. Okay, so and it like all mental illness and all mental health conditions, all these things, it really matters about all of the big picture of it, of all these other little things coming together, aligning or misaligning, because that's what the eclipse is you've got this sun moon, you have these click, see, you have these alignments, but in the bigger picture of the solar system, there's also these misalignments, and it looks like Pluto is kind of like boxing in a way, lack of better metaphor, but in squared, in opposition to these the moon, these different planets, these different astro aspects that could be very significant as well. I mean, Pluto is affecting us right now in a way that's not normal, because it's coming around 200, and I think it's 47 years, 246. It's an odd number that it's so slow and on this weird, it's not like a normal oval. Pluto is really in its own world, its own track, and it's a very strange thing. I mean, to this day I still question what Pluto is. I mean, it is the Death Star as far as I'm concerned. It's some sort of mothership. Whether it's got cricket eating green dudes, or it's whatever, just some space gas. It's got some things rolling around. Whatever you want to do it, however you want to call it. There's something going on with Pluto that ain't quite right in my book, and it's very limited scope. It's just a lot of that's intuition. And a lot of this is intuition as I put together, we as anyone puts together all these different things that are going on, like space weather with this CME geomagnetic storm. So this is coming in right now. We're being bombarded with that dynamic with the moon and the solar with this hybrid. So they call it a hybrid and it says here, a rare hybrid. So, okay, will sweep across Australia and Indonesia. Eclipse chaser Mohammed Sol couldn't wait. One day early, he snapped a picture of the moon. So yesterday's got a picture of the moon there, and it's pretty far out. I mean, it kind of looks like a flag over from what is that? Syria, the Middle East, that little crescent moon. Anyway, this is in the spaceweather.com. So just today, okay, here it is. A hybrid eclipse is a mixture of two types, an annular eclipse and a total eclipse. The difference is the size of the moon. Okay. During the annular phase, the moon is slightly too small to cover the disk, the entire solar disk, resulting in a ring of fire. So we're going to see this. Cue the Johnny Cash, right? I mean, this is the ring of fire eclipse. I didn't think about that before, but cue Johnny Cash. I mean, that's got to go into something. During the total phase, the whole sun is covered, revealing the sun's ghostly corona. And there's a link there. So it's going to show you what they're trying to talk about or what they are saying when you click on this link. Tomorrow's eclipse begins as an annular eclipse over the Indian Ocean. So we're not going to see it here in the North America for the most part, is what they're saying. And this breaks it down. The last time such a hybrid eclipse occurred was 2013. So it was 10 years ago on November 3rd, three, right? Threes on the 13th, lots of threes. There was another 3 here with Jupiter and Moon was doing this at a 6 degree at a 33, 6 degrees at, what was the 33? It's in the book here in the back, but 33s, man. It's a number that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. I don't look at it as inherently evil myself, but there is some interesting dynamics with 33 degree, and especially with like secret societies, how the fixation and focus on that 33 degree angle, that triangulation is, I mean, there's weird blocks all over Portland that have very weird 33 degree angles. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, your 45 is one thing, but it's like, so you got blocks that normally you're going to be looking at 90. So you get your half of that, then these weird 33. So it really makes you, obviously people were thinking about the design of Portland with this, extensive Mason perspective and lens, if you will. In my opinion, it's pretty dang obvious. And I don't want to get into all that, but I've actually gone, you can see it at where I've got family buried at Lone Fir Cemetery, the oldest cemetery here in the area. You can see a lot of, there's firefighters, there was policemen that were Freemasons. Yeah. I mean, this town, Portland, was built by Freemasons. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, you don't have to get all freaked out about it, but you do have to realize that that's who built the city. Okay. So, and there's a lot of other different areas that are like that. It's not just Portland. So, okay. So let's see here. What, the other thing, there's a couple of other things with this. So, I mean, with the mental health dynamic, right? My God, we're just seeing people come unglued. They're coming unraveled. And, some would say, oh, well, they were coming unraveled before the corona pandemic. Well, yes, okay, people were coming unglued, but let's think about what that fear and hysteria did to people's minds, especially young people. I was looking at a post on the Oregon Health Authority, OHA, who has been wrong about everything for 3 years. I mean, people have been fired. There's letters talking about the toxicity of the work environment of OHA. OHA should just be closed. I mean, it's defund and abolish. We can all get together. I mean, those are trick words that God, the left just loves defund, and God Almighty, the left loves abolish. Okay, well, you know what? That's some actual common ground that I see with conservatives, MAGA, patriots, even rhinos on some level, libertarians, that there is different specific group agencies that we would be a lot better without. It is what it is. And you when you start to threaten people in especially the intel agencies, they get real reactionary. You tend to notice a real negative response. And right. And so, and then of course you get these weird false flag operations. Now, one of the biggest myths about false flags is that, nobody gets hurt. The whole thing was a hoax, and just some stoned out patriots on their sailboat, hatched up this false flag thing that they thought happened. No, people die in false flags. Okay, and there's some intel coming out now that you had bona fide CIA assets, which I already knew that, but I've been arguing with dipshits, ding dongs, and wing nuts. I don't even know. I think that's a slogan on a bar in Newport. But I've been arguing with people for decades about what happened and who let it happen and who ordered the stand down. Well, we do know who did the stand down, don't we? Because we know who was in power, right? That was Dick Cheney, right? So he ordered the stand down to the Air Force, which is very peculiar, don't you think? We're under attack and airplanes are slamming into buildings in New York, and the command is stand down. Stand down. Instead of go kick some fucking ass. All right. If I had my little headphones on and I was able to give a shout out or give a command, I would say, let's get these motherfuckers. Right. That's not what happened. But I digress on that because I don't want to get into a deep rabbit hole there on 9/11. But there is some things that are coming. Some new things have come to light, man. Yeah, some new things have come to light, dude. Out of the Big Lebowski. But there now, hey, all of a sudden, well, yeah, there was CIA assets and they were on the planes, and wait, what? Huh? Oh, okay. So we know that there were CIA assets and they were hijackers, and so that means the whole Central Command was in on this. Isn't that what that means when your boys are on the plane that goes kaboom? Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. False flag operations. So there's been a history of not just false flags, per se, that term is so overused anyways, but of actual direct government human sacrifice, and that's like Waco. I mean, what happened in Waco with shooting gas up and then igniting a compound? I don't even remember how many people died, but what's different with that human sacrifice than what Mesoamerican Aztecs did at the sacrifice of the altar of the pyramids? I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say I'm reaching. It's a stretch. It's different death. It's a different sacrifice during the eclipse season. That the eclipse season is always the same season for thousands of years. I'll be damned. But again, we quickly went down a different rabbit hole we didn't mean to. So I just wanted to finish up with my concerns, because this looks like it could be a bloodbath. I used the metaphor. I mean, it's like an ongoing. I mean, it's not even funny. It's really dark humor to even chuckle about it. But we've been like in nonstop fucking attack. I mean, we're clearly in a war. I don't know which war we're in. I mean, I kind of do. I've got my ideas. I don't know if most of America realizes that we're at war. We're in a fucking war. It ain't like there's going to be a war coming down the line unless we turn the fucking Titanic ship around. No, it's in here right now. It's happening right now. And I'm real concerned that people they're still marginalizing that. That's just some crazy. Man, what do you guys, these patriots, when MAGA gets high, they start coming up with some crazy shit. My God, you mean the government's coming for them? Huh? Are you not paying attention? Where the fuck you been for 3 years? Like, you don't think the government's coming for people? We got people in a gulag in DC prisons, no charges, or charges greatly exaggerated. If even that, it may not even be an accurate application of what the fuck is going on. It's insane. Yeah, the government is coming for people, and they're sacrificing people. So we're really not that far off from where we came from with the Aztecs. Okay. Mesoamerican cultures. I mean, it sounds really fucking weird. You mean they were cutting hearts out? Yeah. Yeah. How many people have heart issues this last 2 years with experimental boom booms, Jabarooskis, and other fun therapeutics that nobody survived? Or if you did survive it, you wish you didn't. I mean, it's like, and there's no reason to cut the video or give me a strike for that. It's just playful banter of these kind of heart issues today, like a lot of fucking heart issues today, not just a couple dozen. We're talking about millions of heart issues today. And this fixation of Aztec belief ripping out the beating heart as it spurts in the hands of whatever the shaman is. I don't know what they call these guys, but so the danger also, there's another astro aspect of dynamics here, that Mercury is going retrograde. Now, so retrograde is, and Mercury is the race car driver. I refer to it as the race car driver. It's the fastest moving. It's constant zoom, 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 zoom. It's a Mazda truck commercial from 2010 or 2005. I've had a couple Mazdas, by the way. I like Mazda trucks, but the dynamics of Mercury, you have to understand that retrograde, it's the appearance that it's actually coming backwards. That's actually the dynamics of it. It's not going backwards, because planets don't go backwards, Larry. I don't know if you knew that, but they say that it's going reverse eye with this retrograde. So it's coming all the way down on the end loop, and it's that period where it starts to come back around, coming back home, and it looks like to the eye that it's actually going in reverse, but it's not. It's a part of the ecliptic loop, the tracks that all planets are on. Mercury being the race car driver, it's like a NASCAR event. You got beautiful blondes, lots of Budweiser. Of course, now you might be Coors. And so, but around and around and around they go. Look at them go, look at them go. So it's kind of like that with Mercury. And so, but, and the thing is, people are like, well, why in the fuck are you babbling about Mercury? It's a very unusual phenomenon that Mercury, its behavior affects some people in dramatic ways. It's very strange. It's just peculiar. It's peculiar. And people, and you could say that it's psychosomatic. You could say that, well, if someone believes Mercury's in retrograde, and in that belief, they believe, oh fuck, now I'm going back. I gotta revisit that hell that I just blasted through last year. And oh fuck. Or I mean, you could make some sort of a psychoanalysis like that, where it's not projection. There's a term for that, where someone is manifesting. So it's almost like confirmation bias, right? Like, it's like, oh, Mercury's retro, or that's why I feel like shit, or that's why I'm low energy, or that's why I'm smoking fentanyl and want to shoot up McDonald's. It's fucking Mercury retrograde. So I joke, I joke. It's ha 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 ha. So, but it really does affect people. So you got Mercury going retrograde in Taurus. So it's another part of this running of the bulls. I love bulls. It's grounding. Obviously, I'm a bias. I have a Taurus sun sign. I'm actually 3 planets are in Gemini. So, people they refer to like triple Geminis as kind of eccentric. If you got money, then you're like, oh, there he's eccentric, and oh, look at his cool Porsche. If you're broke, then they're a little more critical. That's a little more negative. It's more like he's like, he's kind of like this guy's bad shit, crazy. Oh my god. And so you get some of that, but Gemini really is resilience. That's why we're still alive. Okay. Resilience. And resilience is why people survive and don't die or kill themselves after they went through their issues, trauma, life events, which we all go through. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. You're going to go through some major fucking trauma and life events, just like everyone else. It's like a sales tax, right? Trauma is a sales tax. It's going to affect everybody. I don't care who you are. So Mercury's going retrograde. That's Friday. That is so. If I'm reading this right, at 1:35 a.m. That would be Pacific Friday, and then Ramadan ends. Ramadan ends the exact same day as Mercury going retrograde until the 14th of May. Mercury is going to be, dipped out in this kind of reverse eye, which is going to make people flip out. I really do. I think it's just going to accelerate the fucking mania. On top of CMEs, and on top of being juiced up with mRNA graphenes, on top of whatever else the fuck people are juiced up on, right? Geomagnetic energies. I mean, the sun is flipped out. The sun is tripping balls. I mean, I don't know how else to scientifically say it. It's one of the most solar active in like 10 years. It's tripped out. I mean, there was on that space weather, there was at one point, I've never seen it before, and I look at this shit almost every day. Well, I'm not as good at it. It doesn't matter. It was a solar plasma tornado for 3 days, spinning. And then one Astro, bro, scientist, whatever, referred to it as some sort of a waterfall, a plasma waterfall event. They're referring to plasma waterfall on the polar of the sun. What the fuck is going on, Larry? And then that tornado, I mean, I wouldn't have fucking believed that unless I saw it with my own eyes. A tornado on the sun for 3 days, spinning visibly. It's indisputable. Crazy shit. That is some crazy plasma activity. And so that plasma and that geomagnetic energy, that is shooting out in our direction. And sometimes it's direct. Other times it's a glazing, I think is what they use the term. The link is in the notes there, spaceweather.com. That's a good one to have just open on your browser and never close it. I do the same thing with the earthquakes, USGS. It's like every day. I just come right, click, 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 click. Hey, what's going on? Whoop, beep. We got a GM class geomagnetic storm or whatever. It's just important. I think it's important to do it because what I've noticed when I follow the police scanners and the fire scanners, I've actually, through one could clearly say some sort of a confirmation bias, if you will, but I can confirm that, yes, these events are going on a full moon. There is a lot more crazy shit happening. You go back to the full moon a couple weeks ago, and I think it was right around this time. Now, I double check me on it because I don't want to say something that it's not accurate because that's important to me. But I think we had 11 people overdose around the full moon a couple weeks ago. I think that was the same period. I didn't quite put the correlation together right at the time because the data was still coming in. People weren't talking about 11 deaths in one day. One day. Most of them were downtown, and most of them were smoking blues. That's what they call the fentanyl, smoking this foil, and it's fucking tragic. People, they act like zombies. I mean, it's like we used to just twist up Bobby Marley's and smoke a little reefer, and just kind of jam out with a Congo and or whatever. I mean, there's always drums. There's always drums. But the point is that the shit that they're doing it's totally nihilistic. They don't care. It doesn't. This fentanyl is, you don't care about anything anymore. That's nihilism. Nihilists, they care about nothing. They don't care about you. They don't care about the government. They just care about nothing. It is done. Nihilists. They're some of the spookiest motherfuckers. And unfortunate, nihilism is that state of mind when you're in a deep drug run, or if you're a raging alcoholic, you can go into a drinking bender where your brain becomes nihilism. What else? How else could we rationalize people getting in cars and racing around drunk driving and crashing? Maybe harming other people, maybe not. Maybe just killing themselves. But that's nihilism in a way, right? Follow me? It's a little bit different. That is a little bit of a stretch, but there is that element of nihilism. You just don't care anymore. You're in this bender, this psychosis, this chemical induced psychosis. And what I'm wondering about is what other therapeutics, pop, 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 into our bloodstream, how is that affecting the brain? Because if it's creating blockages and clots, if it's creating inflammation of the heart and then seizing, stopping, there's studies that are saying it's affecting the brain, and there's medical professionals. I'm not, I'm not giving any medical advice, obviously, but there's people that are far more advanced in the medical research and studies that are saying that it looks like almost like a dementia, kind of like a pre Alzheimer's or pre-dementia that's coming on younger and quickly out of nowhere. Like, not more like, I don't know. There's different varying degrees of neurological damage, but that's one of them. So if that can be happening on that level, then who's to say that it isn't affecting the mental health or creating this antisocial social club, as the jackets I saw this weekend in Chicago riots, where they're pulling, a woman who's not a person of color out of the car and then beating her and then torching other people's cars, and then at one point shooting up a couple of people. They had on the back of their jackets, anti-social social club. Well, antisocial, that's the personality disorder, which walks hand in hand with narcissistic disorder, personality disorder. So nihilism and narcissism, they don't care about anybody else. They can fucking race around and kill whoever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter. It's the antisocial social club. When I saw that jacket, I was like, that fucking sums it up. And the mofo was wearing it. It was on his jacket. I think I saw it more than once, but I didn't, go in deep dive on all these videos, but I did see like a dozen different video clips of Chicago. I'm talking about Chicago because there was all kinds of crazy bullshit that went on this weekend. I knew it was happening, just like I know what's going to happen now. It's happening right now. There's dark shit we have Aztec human sacrifice happening on the pyramids across this country right now as we speak. The new moon, clicked in. We're going into this hybrid solar eclipse. We got CMEs. We've got youth that have been programmed for years since the 2020 coup that we have to violently resist through Marxist communist filters and perspectives and lens, destroy capitalism because white supremacy is capitalism. We must destroy all things before we can rebuild this great anarchist, communist utopia. You can laugh, but that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what's happening now. It hasn't ended. And there's all kinds of different people with their fingers into the mix of that. And there is people that want America to fall. There is Americans that are celebrating our demise because they have been programmed. Young people are easier to program, but there's millions and millions of American adults that are programmed. You've heard the term mass hypnosis, mass formation psychosis, mass formation hypnosis. Fancy little jargon and terms, but the idea is very relevant, valid, and truth, because they have been through fear and hysteria, psychological operation after psychological operations after operations. It takes its toll even on the intelligent. And that's what is so difficult for most people to understand, I think, in my opinion, because that was one of the biggest obstacles that I had to get over. I had to come to the realization and stop using the language that I was using, that it's low IQ. And I still have to catch myself today. These are, it's not all low IQ. Yeah, fluoride is dumbed down people. And yeah, there could be some experimental things that are actually dropping people's IQ. That's not what I'm saying, though. My point is, intelligent people can be put under hypnosis. Of course they can. Of course they can. And of course they are. I mean, look at the psychiatric nurses and the medical doctors and the researchers, all these people that have been told a script and have then taken that script and applied it in broad stroke of medical martial law, tyranny, totalitarian. You're going to tell me that that isn't a part of a plan? You think it's all just by coincidence? That's an awful lot of remarkable coincidence, isn't it? Yes, I think it is. So Ramadan ending, we've come through one of the bloodiest holy weeks, holy periods. It's been more than just one holy week, but that was an easy prediction. I made a video on it, but there's no credit to be given there. It's a pattern that sixth graders could pay attention to each year. For some bizarre reason, during religious and spiritual times, people have decided to kill each other, violently attack them, and in many ways, like cutting their beating hearts in a Mesoamerican Aztec ritual to appease the sun god and hold back these demons that they believed could be released during the eclipse. It's pretty heavy duty stuff. But that back in the 15th, 16th century, so it's 100 years before. So 1300s, 1400s, 1500, and then with these Spanish Crusades, son of a bitches, ruthless motherfuckers, came in and wiped out most of our Mesoamerican culture and dispersed them. I mean, who wasn't slaughtered would abandon ship, and where are they going to go? Right? They're going to come north. Some will go south, but how many hundreds? I don't know. We'll throw these numbers out. I've read some. I have to refresh. I haven't been doing a deep dive on the Mesoamerican, and I've forgotten a lot of the data. I was going to throw out a number like 1 million people. How many were down there in the Aztecs? I'd have to do a little better research because they had food set up for a certain amount of people. They weren't in the millions like today, or were they? How many was there? So I'd have to do a deep dive back on that. But so Ramadan's ending, which to me is a red flag indicator that there will be false flags and there'll be human sacrifices to be had, where beating hearts, still warm and squirting blood, will be removed from people's chests in the Middle East. See? So history is repeating itself, isn't it? We're really not that much different than these savages. You want to call them savages. We really haven't progressed very far, have we? Because spiritual times in Holy Week, Holy Month, this is not a time to kill our brothers and sisters. This is a time to pray and meditate and heal together in our diversity of beliefs in a spiritual world, in a spiritual God. We may call them different names. It's not a time to be killing each other. So why do we continue to slaughter and kill each other during these holy times? Ramadan ends. Mercury clicks back. So those people, and there's zero data that I'm aware of, those people that are affected by Mercury's vibrations, Mercury's sudden movements, some people are more prone to have adverse reactions to a Mercury retrograde. It also is symbolic to anybody on a global level that's perceiving a mass kill-off, a mass human sacrifice. Now, you might say, that's some dark shit, dude. I mean, what did you just say? You're saying there's global people that are planning a mass human sacrifice? I mean, bro, did you hear what you said? That's dark shit, bro. Yeah, I know it's dark shit. But it appears this is the case. So people that understand these different changes and eclipses will exploit and use this, probably much like shamans did in Mesoamerican culture, where they had it down to a science. We see this from their calendars. The calendars are truly remarkable. Truly remarkable. It was 10 months shorter. It was just the whole thing. But they had it all down to a science. Even with some interpretations saying 2012 was the end. I think it was 2012, which we're still here. So that one fell flat. But I actually questioned the interpretation of that. And others are now. They're, obviously, because we're not dead. Or are we? Are we just in a simulation? That's quantum string theory's total different subject. Or is it? I don't know. But so I'm super, super concerned. And so I say the running of the bulls. The running of the bulls was when we partied for a week. Literally. It was somebody's birthday every day for a week. And it went right into May Day, kicked it off. And then I was May 2nd birthdays, the 3rd, Cinco de Mayo. So that's the other thing that I wanted to say. Am I done spelling enough doom and gloom? It's 50 minutes in. doom and gloom on this pending 72 hours, right? I'm talking about this weekend, right now, right in the middle of it, right now. New moon, Mercury, the moon clicked into Taurus, sun click in Taurus. Boom, that's tomorrow, actually, Thursday. We're on the 19th. So the moon clicks into Taurus, 9:30. Yes. So it did. So the moon did, but the sun is actually clicking into Taurus tomorrow. And then they say the solar eclipse is in Aries, but it's also right there with the Taurus. So it's both signs. It's really a running of the bulls. Now, what is that running of the bulls? The running of the bulls, it's not all party like we used to do, like I used to do. I mean, we'd have barbecue, we'd have bands. Max was buying whole salmons, smoking whole salmons. I mean, we did it right, man. We did it right, and it was a good time. This was years ago. We haven't done that for a long time, but it's unfortunate because those were really, really good times. Those are really good celebrations. But I was nicknaming it the running of the bulls. Now, the running of the bulls, people die in Spain. It's an actual celebration, right? So you look that up. I don't have that right in front of me. I didn't post a link. I did post the darkness about the Aztecs. I could read a little bit of that if you wanted, but and then I also did the natal chart report. So I just typed in tomorrow, actually, it's 420. The chart that I did, I typed in, I believe, for tomorrow, not today. So it just says what the alignment is. And there's this huge cluster around the Taurus, and then the whole rest of the chart is empty. Nothing there. The planets aren't there. They're all clustered. Anytime I see that, it's red flag. Danger. Danger. You've got a cluster. Anytime there's a clustering. Now, so I think that it can be a positive creative explosion. That's the way I look at Taurus. I love Taurus. It's Venus. I love Venus. My God, the goddess of love there's nothing more wonderful than Venus in furs, actually. Venus in furs. But so that bias, it's like I struggle with it, connecting it to being death. But we have to remember, I have to tell myself that the running of the bulls in Spain, people die. There's a long, rich history of people dying. Sudden bull trampling disorder, right? Died suddenly during the running of the bulls. And then gored. I mean, can you imagine one of those fucking beasts like goring into your rib cage or in your thigh, like a horn shaft, like you're being hooked up by some industrial fucking machine with this bull horn? Holy fuck. And then imagine what it feels like to be trampled. I mean, that has to be pretty painful. And it's that type of concussion and impact. It's going to kill a lot of people. It can kill a lot of people. So the running of the bulls, that we got this cluster, and then Uranus is still in, I believe it's the bull in a China shop still. If I looked at that right, you can look at the prenatal chart there, and I'm pretty sure I posted that one in there. So what the Aztecs thought. So this is the darks. Let me read this one, Darky. I put this clip into the show notes, but just let me read this. So it says, but there's more. So, I mean, it talks about Mercury and Venus, which is really interesting, right? Because I just went on this big Mercury diatribe where I'm talking about, but the Aztecs believed that Mercury and Venus were twins, right? And I've heard that with other beliefs and other mythology with other planets. But Mercury and Venus were twins in Aztec mythology. And they both had the ability to venture close to the sun, visit the land of the dead. So the Aztecs believed the land of the dead lay beyond the sky, and it was normally hidden by the glare of the sun. Only by challenging the sun could one be granted access. Mercury and Venus, for example, were considered twins in Aztec mythology. So, but there's more. This is the dark part. The Aztec believed in certain creatures of darkness or demons named Tzitzimime. Tzitzimime. Mimi. Tzitzimime. These skeletal creatures, right? So this is Muertos de Dios. This is that whole jaguar symbol of dark. This whole thing that is still celebrated today. These skeletal creatures represented the souls of sacrificed warriors. We're in the middle of a war. We have hundreds of thousands of people in Slavic civil war that have been massacred on both sides. All of those souls have got to go somewhere. I mean, unless you're an atheist and then you just think they watered the trees of liberty or something. I don't know what you think. But these skeletal creatures represented the souls of sacrificed warriors. In one pictograph of an eclipse, two of these demons are shown alongside the dark sun. So I've painted eclipses. I've painted that dark sun. That's exactly what these guys tripped out on boomers down there in the 14th century on the pyramids. And it was a pretty fucking dramatic scene. I can only imagine with the feathers and the drums a beating. The fear was that these demons of darkness would consume the sun and then come to Earth. Kill, consume, what does that mean? Collide, possibly? Consume the sun and then come to Earth, much like a coronal mass ejection is coming right now to arrive within hours. And then I think it heats up a little bit all day tomorrow. I think. We'll see. Bringing to an end to the world as the Aztecs knew it. So this was the apocalypse. And, you know, when you're tripped out on boomers or whatever, ayahuasca, I mean, some of that stuff makes boomers look like bubblegum. I mean, I've read some stories where they're snorting powder and stuff that it, you know, I mean, probably a lot like a DMT experience or something. You know, I've never dabbled with ayahuasca. People tell me it's like equivalent to peyote, but a whole nother level. That's what I was told. I've never done it, but it's strong. I know that much. I don't need to do it to know that shit is serious. So whatever they're doing, they're worried about the sun getting captured, right? And so I don't know if the sacrifices was to the demons or was to the sun or was like, we're going to kill these warriors and they're going to go up and kill the other warriors that are trying to consume the sun. And then we're all fucked because then the corn crops go and we lose out on fucking everything. Right. Or something like that. You know, I mean, I don't know. Probably something like that though. But so anyway, that's a weird, that space.com. That's another weird, not space weather. That's solid. This one that I'm talking about the Aztecs was really it was a random thing that popped up. So take a look at that space weather. And what else do we got here? Let's see. This is such a good one. This is Felipe Gordon, like I said, more than grateful, right? But the Ramadan ending is I think we're going to see a lot more of what we've seen. I mean, people aren't paying attention to what's going on over there. I mean, we had Israel that it was attacking not only Muslim but Christians. Christians. People are not paying attention to what's going on in Israel. They're just totally checked out. It's really unfortunate because it is a historical moment in transition right now. I mean, huge. And it's on the brink of slipping into what probably resembles something like East Germany. I mean, ethno state where all other religions are attacked and put into work camps. I mean, Golan Heights, right? I don't know. We don't want it to go like that. We've got to help our Judaist brothers and sisters fight this oppressive regime, just like we need the help with our brothers and sisters here to fight our oppressive regime. See? And it doesn't mean that all Americans are bad just because we have this horrific, fucked up government controlling things. And that's a whole nother video, right? So anyway, heads up. I mean, it's an obvious one. It's the 420. It's like it's always well played, but I think it's actually going to be this weekend, the 21st, with the Ramadan. Mercury actually goes retrograde 1:35 a.m. West Coast time, Surfer Boy time, Friday. So not tomorrow, the 21st. Mercury retrograde is the 21st. So that's just sets it up. And then they call it Earth Day. I mean, what more appropriate to, I mean, they want to ban rice. You realize that banning rice is going to kill 1 billion people. More? Probably a couple billion people. Rice is the staple for billions of people. They want to stop cutting. They want to stop rice. They want to stop growing rice. It's not good for the air, is it? Not good for the soil and the methane. It doesn't get, captured and whatever the fuck the psychobabble is. That's who we're dealing with here. So what more appropriate than some really fucked up shit on Earth Day? Now, that's Saturday. It could just be real hunky-dory and you just burn some incense and a little, smells like patchouli and, liberal tears. I'm concerned. So, and then the other thing that is even more alarming, and if anybody that's ever heard me ramble on about Astro aspects, is I am severely allergic to Scorpio. And it doesn't mean that I don't like Scorpio people. In fact, Taurus, the opposite of Scorpio. I've always attracted a lot of Scorpio women. They are enchantress, seductive, sensual, amazing. It's like Venus, right? Venus, the goddess. Scorpio, the seduction. It's hot. It's sexy. So there is that attraction. It's not like all repellent, but over the years, I'm like, I mean, it's like, oh, you're a Scorpio. I'm like, oh, Jesus. It's like, I'll be back, or maybe not. I'm leaving. Sorry, no. I mean, but it's like I'm kind of gun shy with Scorpio after. It's just a pattern. When you see patterns over decades and decades, people that you encounter, it's kind of like you start to take note. You're right. You should be writing down the patterns. But so with all that said, the running of the bulls, this is the 1st of May. So we got my birthday there. And then we got the 4th. The moon goes into Scorpio at 7:32 a.m. May 4th, Thursday, which sets up a Scorpio weekend of Cinco de Mayo with a lunar eclipse, 14 degrees, Scorpio, 58 feet. Holy fuck. I mean, it's a full moon. Did I say that? Scorpio, full moon weekend, Cinco de Mayo. Here we are talking about Mesoamerican culture. Here we are talking about the magic and power of the eclipse to the Mesoamerican culture. and it's Cinco de Mayo weekend in Scorpio. So this is an obvious bloodbath. I mean, every day feels like a bloodbath, and in a way, it kind of is. We're in a very, very weird time. It's not good. You've really got to take care of your heart, mind, and soul. And forest bathing, get out of the city, breathe in the terpenes, and then I strongly recommend, for a number of reasons, steam sauna. You've got to sweat this shit out. You've got to purify your heart, your mind, and you have to purify your soul. There's no better way to do all of that than with meditation and a steam sauna. That, in effect, is what a wigwam is with a vision quest. Full moon, First Nations tribal sweat, always on a full moon. There'll be, you're damn sure there's going to be indigenous sweats all over North America and down into Mexico on the full moon. I can guarantee it. There's no cameras there recording it. There should be, though. There should be. People should record that stuff. People, especially the tribes, should be doing those ceremonies. Full moon, 4 rounds, tribal sweats in the wigwam. But if you can't get that, like most people in the city, and totally isolated from the indigenous culture, which needs to change, in my opinion. But the steam sauna will do. In fact, the steam sauna is wonderful. I used to do every single day. I used to do a steam sauna, and it was awesome. Down at La Prenzi's off of Division, it's hard to find them. And then Cascade Athletic Club has a steam sauna, but it's remarkably unfortunate how difficult it is to find a maintained steam sauna, because you have to disinfect them and clean them. It has anybody that's got one in a gym, which you don't find them in gyms. So that's the Cinco de Mayo weekend. Brutal. And the people that they're getting shot up in the resorts. The drug cartels are battling it out. I mean, you've got drug cartels that are cutting each other's hearts out. And then the tourists, there was just a big massacre this last weekend. Like Jaleco. I'd have to look it up, but it's actually becoming very frequent. And anybody that's down there, Americans or whatever. So we're probably going to have a resort hit. I see a bloodbath with Americans on Cinco de Mayo weekend down in across the border, right there along the border. I mean, that's usually where it is, but it could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be Guatemala, where it was like the hub of Mesoamerican culture. So anyway, that's heads up. I mean, that one I'll probably do a video next week on, because it's just like, it's full moon Scorpio. Anytime there's a full moon Scorpio, it's a fucking massacre. It's a fucking massacre. There's just no way around it. And now we're in these times right now in a global war. World War. I think it's World War IV. I call it World War IV. We already went through World War III. That's what 20 years dicking around the Middle East was. The whole fucking world was there. Proxies and proxies and proxies and proxies. That's a world war. But that's debatable, and I'm not a historian, and nobody fucking gives a fuck what I say about that anyways. But we're in a world war. Any way you look at it, I hope you look at it that way, because you need to, and don't be in denial. So anyway, Scorpio full moon, it's like bam, it's a double header. This weekend is still ahead of us, and there's a massive bloodbath coming. I hate to say that, but people are not well. The youth have been programmed. It started with climate anxiety. I've got all kinds of data I've been reading and scientific studies on what climate anxiety does to the youth. And it's being manipulated, politicized. It's being politicized and manipulated for the Democrat neoliberal agenda. And this is what I don't like about uh, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is he's got all the makings of being playing right into this global Green New Deal manipulation. He's already spewing stuff that the climate doesn't have to be the climate or the economy. We can have the climate involve the environment with the economy, something like this. Oh, that's not an exact quote, but he just said this days ago. And I thought, there it is. They got their boy. That's it right there. He's gonna pick up that Green New Deal and he's gonna work on the global. He's saying all kinds of stuff. We got to separate state and from the government, state from the corporation, which is great one-liner. Sure, sounds great. How are you going to do that with Democrats? Because you're running as a Democrat, and all the Democrats are going to come in and rally around you if you ever do get any traction. The big shots are probably going to fight him, but and who the fuck? I can't believe I heard Texas think tank talking about what a great tag team Bobby Kennedy Jr. would be with Donnie on a dual partisan ticket. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the quickest way to completely destroy Trump's legacy is to put him in with an establishment Kennedy hack who talks about a lot of good stuff on certain things. I'm not a big Kennedy fan anyway. People have turned JFK into this. That's a whole nother thing. The guy is not what people think he was. I'm sorry. It wasn't all about scattering the CIA into 1,000 pieces. That was a great speech, right? Just like some really great words and speeches I've heard here recently from his what is it, his nephew? It's how far back down is it? But anyway, it's like, and then if I jump out, then I'm like somehow some big pharma shill because everyone thinks that this guy's against pharma. He's not against pharma. Come on, man. No, no. Just because you've marketed anxiety about vaccines, and that's the other thing I don't like is that I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer with core. I am now, I guess. I'm being made to, but with the core of original, and people even question all of that now. Now I'll never do any of them, and I'll never recommend them again because now they're talking about putting the mRNA, that messenger, the memory RNA gene therapy into everything. They're now going to make that the catalyst of all of the required for the children, and that is diabolical, in my opinion. But uh, RFK Jr. was saying he's been against them all, and I'm not. I think it's a huge error to combine the non-mRNA platform vaccines like polio and measles and mumps and combine that and lump it into the same pool of this new mRNA technology that does anything with vaccine. Nothing to do with what the other traditional methods have done. We've eradicated some serious ugly shit from the old way. And the old way may be done. But I don't like that. I don't like how he has combined them and then he's tied it into all kinds of stuff, like autism and all these different theories and things. I actually believe that these neurological problems, the dendrites that have been damaged, the neurological that's creating autism, I believe that has come from glyphosate and Roundup and things like this. It was sprayed on the grasses. It's been sprayed on the foods and the crops. It's in our breakfast cereal on some levels. It's been ingested, and now with a couple of generations, more than a couple generations, but a good couple of generations, children's children, and we're seeing the mutated dendrites that are damaged. That's where this autism and these other disorders are coming from. Maybe even this antisocial personality disorders, narcissism, and all kinds of different things. It could all be connected with this type of neurological damage. Now, can it be reversed? That's a whole nother thing. We have to do some research on that. There is some evidence that things like cubensis actually do a rehealing of the dendrites and the neurological and can actually reverse depression and might even be able to do some regrowth on those damaged dendrites, the neurological feelers. When those get fucked up, people start going into Rain Man. Well, 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 hi, or whatever. There's a whole million different spectrums that they go into, and it's not always obvious, right? So, what are these experimental therapeutics doing that are not good? And I don't like that. So, but stop, full stop, with putting that son bitch establishment hack anywhere near Donnie. That we need to focus on getting Donnie back into I'm the outsider and I'm going to be critical of establishment. That got destroyed because of the hiring, which I think in large part was the Jared Kushner and his beautiful daughter. She's a liberal. Ivanka's a liberal. And who was making the decisions of hiring and firing? Was it all on Trump? I'm going to hold him as the executive. So I mean, I'm not letting him off completely, but there was people around him that, and I know Jared was a big one, and I don't like him. I'm sorry, I just don't like him. There's a number of reasons, but uh, he's brilliant, and he did some great peace accords, sorta. But he's just conniving. The guy is. I don't trust him. I hate to say that because it's his son-in-law, but man, if you're gonna do it right. Do the second term right and switch up. Ivanka's already said, "Hey, I don't want in that shit show." And Jared's like, "Oh, I can still do some magic," whatever the fuck he thinks he can do. But anyway, how did I get off on that? I'm sorry. That was kind of a side note on because that's something I thought. Should I do a video? If I do a video coming out against RFK, it's like it's like it's a shitburger video. I mean, because it's like I don't want to attack him, and it's great to have somebody, even though I don't trust him or like him and really believe him to be sincere. Unfortunate, but could still use him to launch an attack at Biden and the whole fucking Biden admin for that matter. But we sure in the fuck don't want to bring him in on some guy. That's where it'd be worse than Pence. It'd be as bad as Pence. Pence was, oh my God. I understand the concept of he had to bring in those ultra conservative religious faction. That's what Pence did. I mean, it just wouldn't have happened without Pence on that level. But oh my God, Eli Lilly in Indiana, it's shady. I mean, it's actually creepy shady. Some of that Pence passed in was Indiana, wasn't it? Um, it's not good. I mean, it's DynCorp, it's that whole human trafficking dynamics. It's probably at everyone's on the governor level. It's probably at everyone's doorstep on that your governor's mansion. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, it's human trafficking is what it is. It's just a global reshifting of swooping up and taking people's children. And that's that's obvious. Human trafficking, there's fentanyl, but the real money, the real cash cow is getting those children at the border. And that's why do you think the border's open? Right? It's not helping us. It's killing hundreds of thousands of our people. And it's bringing in people that are here to, in a narcissistic way, make money and laugh and party at our demise and the empire crumbling. So it's real fucked up. So anyway, I think that was it. I talked about all the crazy shit and Scorpio full moon in 2 weeks is it gives me like a sick feeling. I get that like I get a chill, not in a good way. Like when something's like positive, or like you could feel spirit in a room. You get a chill that feels good. It's like a dark chill. It's like a cold chicken chill. Like your skin's clammy and like you're sweating and it's cold and pasty and it's a chill and you're like, how many fucking people are gonna die with this one? With this alignment or misalignment and planned human sacrifice. On that note, be safe. Be safe out there. We're going through it right now. This eclipse. And there's things that are coming in to align, and then with that, there's also squaring. There's square opposition, and Pluto is like playing goalie, and people are kicking a soccer ball into the goalie, and Pluto's just kicking it out, blocking it all. Like it's an adversary position. In that time of the full rotation of the 246, 247 year rotation that just happened. It's happening like it's not one time. That's the mistake that I heard people saying, is that it wasn't 1 year. That July 4th, 1776, where Pluto was, it's now doing that full 246 years, 247, but it's off. It's like a Saturn return. With it can happen 27 years, but it can also come early in 26 for some people. It can also come in 28 year, your Saturn return, 28 year. It's not always exactly 27. But how about all the people that we've known, rock stars that are dead at 27 years? Do you know what that is? That's Saturn return. That's Saturn does 27 years, one full circle, where Saturn was in the sky when you were born. 27-year loop. Saturn comes back, and it always brings back childhood trauma if you had trauma. And it also is like it snuffs out people. It really snuffs out people, because if you can't grasp, you can't get a hold of the past. If you have severe unresolved issues and you're not aware of what it is, and you're self-medicating, you do a deep dive, 27. And it might happen in 26, it might happen at 28, and then the other weird thing is it comes back was 27 and 27. It's 54. So in the 50s, 54, you've got your second Saturn return or midlife crisis, right? So you have this second 54 in your 50s. Could be 52, 53, 54. It doesn't have to be that exact, but that's the thing that's happening with Pluto. So the global disruption and the founding of America, that's where Pluto was, 1776. It's now done one full rotation, 240 whatever odd years that it is. We're in the middle of that. It did officially click into the new sign, but it's just like with full moons, just like with new moons. It's not the exact time and moment, and that's it. You'll have a couple days before. It's like we had a horrific weekend of death and massacre. Sweet 16 parties in Alabama, I believe it was. Georgia. I mean, it was Chicago. Chicago had thousands of rioting, killing each other, anti-social, social club on the back of the jackets. Some things are really obvious, and they will present themselves to you in that obvious way. Somebody wearing anti-social social club on the back of their jackets. Is that a club? I mean, a brand? Is there a clothing store that does that? Is it like FUBU or somebody that's doing that I don't know? Because I don't have a fucking clue about clothing or fashion. But, I mean, can you explain to me, have you seen this around before? Is this like the hip new thing? This anti-social social club. It's a personality disorder. That's where homicidal, narcissistic, sociopath nihilism comes from. Antisocial borderline personality disorders. You tell me if you know more than I do about it, because I know you do. I don't know shit about it, but I just found that really remarkable. I mean, that's just absolutely stunning. So, anyway, peace out. Be safe. It's not the end of you. God bless.